Right now, across the world's largest boardrooms, artificial intelligence is triggering an internal civil war. Underneath the glossy marketing rollouts of 2026, major corporate AI initiatives are stalling out, paralyzed by a workforce that is actively fighting back. Data from a 2026 survey of the C-suite reveals the scale of the crisis. 54% of executives report that the push to integrate AI is actively tearing their companies apart from the inside. This resistance is often intentional. 44% of Generation Z workers admit to sabotaging their own employers' AI strategies, purposefully ignoring usage guidelines or feeding sensitive data into unapproved public tools. There is a massive disconnect between investment and results. While big tech pours $740 billion into the ecosystem, retail giants face viral humiliations. Taco Bell recently saw its drive-through automation crash after a single customer ordered 18,000 cups of water. Basic security failures add to the friction. When McDonald's deployed an early-stage hiring bot, an administrative password of 123456 exposed the personal data of 64 million applicants. These failures create a lasting mental baseline for leadership. For an executive, a single viral breach or a high-cost pilot becomes the primary reference point. This serves as the first anchor in their mental model, forcing every future strategy to drift from a position of permanent skepticism. In 1974, researchers Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman formalized this phenomenon as the anchoring bias. It describes the human tendency to rely too heavily on the first piece of information offered, the anchor, when making subsequent decisions. Their research demonstrated how arbitrary numbers hijack our logic. Participants watched a rigged wheel of fortune land on either 10 or 65 before being asked to estimate the number of African countries in the UN. Those who saw the 10 guessed 25%. Those who saw 65 guessed 45%. This cognitive glitch affects even experts who believe themselves immune. A study of experienced judges showed that a random dice roll of a 3 versus a 9 resulted in a 60% difference in the length of a prison sentence for the exact same crime. This happens because of how the brain conserves energy. Our fast, intuitive processor, System 1, aggressively latches on to the very first data point it encounters to establish a quick starting line. Our analytical processor, System 2, is often too slow to perform the necessary correction. It fails to pull the mind far enough away from that initial anchor to reach an objective reality. Biology dictates that an initial data point will almost always override objective analysis.
Once a first impression of a technology is set, the mind remains tethered to it. In a corporate environment, a high-profile failure becomes the permanent baseline for future technology. When United Healthcare used an algorithm with a 90% error rate to predict patient care, it set an anchor that case managers found nearly impossible to deviate from, even when their medical judgment suggested otherwise. This echoes the shadows in Plato's cave.
For many organizations, legacy workflows and past successes are the only reality they have ever known. These established routines form the anchors that keep them in the dark. When digital transformation leaders introduce the blinding light of AI, they encounter organizational entrenchment. This is a calcification of systems and routines that persist regardless of the evidence supporting a change. This entrenchment splits the workforce. Management often prioritizes a new AI elite, super users who operate at 5 times the productivity of their peers, creating a sudden talent divide. This divide triggers inequity aversion. When legacy employees see this new class receiving a disproportionate share of resources and prestige, they experience a biological drive to protect their status. The resulting sabotage functions as a biological defense mechanism. Employees are attempting to protect an established identity and a legacy workflow that feels safe, even as the market around them shifts. Beyond the internal culture wars, a trillion-dollar anchor obscures the macroeconomic reality. Many executives operate on the assumption that AI is a cheap software replacement for human labor. Data from the MIT Automation Viability Study challenges this. The research shows that it is currently only economically viable to automate 23% of human labor tasks. In the other 77% of cases, the human worker remains the more cost-effective option. This is because of the hidden infrastructure required for automation. Supporting even a small sliver of automated labor requires a projected $5.2 trillion footprint in data centers and massive daily compute costs. This creates an expertise paradox. Automating the easy parts of a job increases the complexity of the remaining tasks. As a result, the value and wages of the human experts who manage those complex edge cases actually rise. Anchoring a strategy to the illusion of cheap AI ignores these infrastructure requirements. It creates a broken economic model that leads toward organizational insolvency. Because anchoring is a biological hardware issue, it cannot be trained away. Overcoming it requires structural interventions that disrupt existing routines. Tactics like red teaming force leadership to deliberately challenge their own successes. By designating a group to play the skeptic, companies can surface the hidden assumptions that anchor their decision-making. Mathematician Hannah Fry offers a framework for a healthy partnership between human oversight and automated systems. Fry emphasizes the Bayesian update mindset. Instead of remaining tethered to a static initial anchor, leaders must continuously use every new piece of data to adjust their best guess about the future. She describes an ideal state where the computer flies the plane and the pilot feeds the dog, and the dog is there to bite the pilot if they try to touch the computer. This outlines the necessary boundaries between human judgment and machine execution. The advantage in the machine age belongs to those who conquer their own cognitive biology. Ultimately, success requires the ability to dismantle entrenched routines and unlearn the very successes that built the organization.